What changes when a transport helicopter shows up already armed? That question is now very real for the Philippines. In the latest signal of accelerating defense modernization, the Philippine Air Force has received 5 S-70I Black Hawk helicopters fitted with M134D miniguns, transforming familiar workhorse aircraft into flying shields for troops on the ground. As one defense official put it, these helicopters are no longer just for lift, they are for survival. It is a quiet delivery, but the message is loud. To understand why this matters, picture a combat insertion under fire. Soldiers fast roping into hostile terrain, engines roaring, dust and chaos everywhere. In the past, Philippine Black Hawks arrived unarmed, dependent on speed and luck. Today, those same helicopters can lay down suppressive fire the moment they arrive, protecting troops before their boots even touch the ground. This is the same operational logic that made the Black Hawk indispensable in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it is now being adapted to Philippine terrain, from counterinsurgency zones to maritime security missions. Regionally, the shift is telling. Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore already operate armed utility helicopters as standard practice, recognizing that modern conflicts rarely allow rear area assumptions. Even Japan, once deeply cautious, has expanded the armed role of its Rotary-Wing fleet in response to gray zone threats. The Philippines is no longer playing catch-up. It is closing a long-standing survivability gap in its air mobility forces. This move also reflects a deeper reality. The security environment has changed faster than legacy doctrine. Rising tensions in the West Philippine Sea, persistent internal threats, and disaster response missions in unsecured areas all demand aircraft that can arrive fast, stay protected, and fight if necessary. In that sense, the minigun-armed S-70I is more than a helicopter upgrade. It is a statement that the Philippine Air Force intends to operate in contested spaces with confidence, not caution. What looks like 5 helicopters on paper is, in practice, a shift in mindset. The Philippines is no longer assuming that transport aircraft will always be spared. It is preparing for a world where even humanitarian corridors, maritime patrols, and insertion zones may be contested, and where arriving unarmed is no longer an option. The Philippines sits at a geopolitical crossroads where geography and ambition collide with regional friction. Maritime tensions in the West Philippine Sea continue to test Manila's resolve, with contested features, gray zone coercion, and frequent incursions raising the stakes for deterrence. In this environment, presence is not optional. Naval and air forces must maintain distributed coverage across the archipelagic littorals, ensuring that even remote areas are monitored, defended, and capable of rapid response. Every patrol, every sensor sweep, and every aircraft sortie sends a signal. Visibility equals sovereignty. Internally, the challenges are no less pressing. Across Mindanao and other islands, the Philippines faces persistent counterinsurgency and anti-terror operations. Troop mobility, fast insertion, and close air support remain critical lifelines for ground forces operating in rugged terrain. Here, Rotary-Wing assets are not luxury. They are mission-critical force multipliers. Helicopters must carry soldiers, supply chains, and sometimes firepower directly into hotspots, bridging gaps that ground mobility alone cannot address. These operational imperatives are underpinned by a renewed political and budgetary commitment. The revised AFP Modernization program, with its Re-Horizon approach, has injected fresh funding, enabling the scaling of capabilities long overdue. Modernization is no longer a distant aspiration. It is a government priority with teeth, empowering the AFP to field platforms like minigun-armed S-70I Black Hawks that respond directly to both external and internal security pressures. Regional tensions, domestic threats, and sustained modernization funding define the strategic context in which the PAF is now operating. The message is clear. Flexible, armed, and capable Rotary-Wing assets are no longer optional. They are indispensable. The Philippine Air Force has been quietly but steadily expanding and modernizing its Rotary-Wing capabilities, with the S-70I Black Hawk now emerging as a central pillar of its fleet. Following multiple contracts and staggered deliveries from 2020 through 2024, the PAF recently took delivery of 10 additional S-70I rotorcraft in 2024 alone, marking a substantial increase in operational capacity. These helicopters are quickly becoming the backbone of the service's utility and combat lift capability. The PAF's helicopter force is diverse and multi-generational, reflecting decades of operational evolution. Legacy Bell UH-1 Hueys still provide basic lift and utility, while AW-109s handle light transport and liaison duties. Earlier Blackhawks complement the newer S-70Is, which are specifically optimized for armed operations, troop insertion, and rapid response missions. For perspective, the PAF's fixed-wing inventory includes FA-50 fighter jets, C-130 transport aircraft, and dedicated surveillance platforms, ensuring that Rotary-Wing modernization integrates into a wider airpower and intelligence architecture. Operational deployment is designed for flexibility and reach. Helicopters are assigned across multiple squadrons to support search and rescue, SAR, utility lift, air mobility, and internal security operations, with assets routinely rotated to meet the demands of counterinsurgency and disaster response missions. This distributed posture ensures that high-value platforms like the new minigun-armed S-70 ICE are available where they are most needed, reinforcing both domestic stability and rapid response capability across the archipelago. With the fleet's expansion and modernization, the PAF is not only increasing the number of aircraft, but elevating the overall operational readiness and versatility of its Rotary-Wing forces, capabilities that are now directly aligned with the Philippines' growing strategic and internal security needs. The Philippine Air Force's acquisition of the S-70I Blackhawk reflects a deliberate, phased approach to building a multi-mission, combat-ready helicopter fleet. Initial contracts in 2019 and 2020 marked the PAF's entry into the S-70I program, laying the groundwork for a fleet capable of handling both utility and armed operations. By 2022, the PAF signed a contract for 32 additional S-70I helicopters, a move designed not only to expand lift capacity, but also to enhance survivability and operational flexibility in increasingly contested littoral environments. Deliveries have followed a phased cadence between 2020 and 2024, with Lockheed Martin confirming 10 aircraft delivered in 2024 and subsequent batches arriving through 2025. This staggered schedule ensures that the PAF can train crews, integrate systems, and gradually scale operational readiness without overextending maintenance and logistics support. The force design rationale behind these procurements is clear. The PAF prioritizes multi-mission utility aircraft that can perform troop transport, medevac, combat search and rescue, maritime patrol, and, when equipped with weapon systems, close air support. By investing in configurable platforms rather than single-role helicopters, the Philippines is positioning its Rotary-Wing fleet to operate effectively across a spectrum of internal and regional security scenarios, particularly amid rising tensions in the South China Sea. The scale and cost of the program underline its seriousness. Publicly reported figures place the 32-unit package at approximately $624 million, reflecting both the government's intent to build a sizable fleet and the commitment to long-term capability enhancement. These investments are not just numbers on paper, they signal a strategic shift toward resilient, modern, and versatile air mobility, capable of projecting presence and safeguarding national interests across the archipelago and contested maritime zones. The arrival of minigun-armed S-70I Blackhawks is a meaningful leap forward, but it does not magically close all of the Philippine Air Force's capability gaps. Rotary-Wing firepower improves survivability and tactical flexibility, yet it operates within a wider force structure that still faces structural limitations, particularly in high-end maritime and joint operations. At the strategic level, the Philippines continues to face anti-access, area denial challenges. The PAF has limited organic maritime strike options and no large inventory of air-launched anti-ship missiles. Air defense layers also remain relatively thin when measured against peer A2, AD systems operating in the region. Armed helicopters can suppress threats locally, but they cannot deter or defeat standoff maritime and missile forces operating at range.
Surveillance and intelligence shortfalls are equally significant.
Helicopters deliver tactical effects, not persistent awareness. The PAF still requires more maritime patrol aircraft, long-range coastal and over-the-horizon radars, and fully integrated ISR fusion networks to maintain continuous visibility across vast sea spaces. Without these systems, armed Black Hawks operate reactively rather than as part of a proactive, wide-area sensing grid. Sustainment remains another limiting factor. Maintenance capacity, spare parts availability, and trained air crews directly constrain sortie generation, particularly for weaponized platforms that experience higher wear rates. The Philippines' dispersed archipelagic basing structure further complicates logistics, stretching support units across multiple islands and increasing operational friction during sustained operations. Finally, there is the challenge of command, control, and joint integration.
To fully exploit armed helicopters, the AFP must shorten sensor-to-shooter timelines and improve joint fire coordination across air, sea, and land domains. This requires upgraded data links, common targeting networks, and doctrine that integrates helicopters into combined arms operations rather than treating them as standalone assets. In short, the new Blackhawks are force multipliers, not force substitutes. They strengthen the PAF at the tactical level, but their true value depends on parallel investments in surveillance, strike, sustainment, and joint command systems. Modern air power is an ecosystem, and helicopters only reach their full potential when the rest of the system evolves with them.
The Philippine Air Force's Rotary-Wing fleet has long been a backbone of mobility, logistics, and internal security operations. But recent acquisitions signal a deliberate shift toward combat-capable, multi-mission air power. At the core of this evolution is the S-70I Black Hawk, whose growing numbers now make it a central platform for both utility and armed operations. Legacy UH-1 Hueys and lighter helicopters continue to serve transport and internal security roles, providing breadth and flexibility across the archipelago. Operationally, combat helicopters are assigned a wide spectrum of tasks. They transport troops into and out of complex terrain, conduct CASEVAC, medevac missions, and when armed, deliver close air support to ground forces. In maritime domains, they assist in interdiction patrols, supporting naval operations without directly replacing dedicated maritime strike platforms.
The fleet is also indispensable in disaster response scenarios,
delivering aid and evacuating civilians under challenging conditions. Doctrinally, the PAF is undergoing a subtle but profound transformation. The traditional pure transport mindset is giving way to an armed utility concept, where helicopters are expected to perform both lift and fire support tasks. This approach reflects lessons from counterinsurgency operations in Mindanao, as well as the growing need to project presence and respond rapidly in littoral zones. In practical terms, every sortie is increasingly conceived as a dual-purpose mission. The helicopter must move forces or assets and be ready to provide defensive or offensive firepower if the situation demands. This doctrinal evolution positions the PAF's helicopter fleet not merely as logistical enablers, but as tactical force multipliers, capable of shaping operations across islands, coasts, and contested maritime areas. Precisely the capabilities demanded by the Philippines' complex security environment today.
The Philippine Air Force's recent introduction of M134D minigun-equipped S-70I Blackhawks is a deliberate adaptation to the operational challenges of the archipelago and contested maritime zones. These helicopters transform a utility platform into a combat-capable asset, capable of providing close air support, suppressive fire, and rapid troop insertion under fire. By combining lift and firepower, the armed S-70Is give the PAF tactical flexibility across counterinsurgency, internal security, and littoral missions. The M134D miniguns provide an extremely high cyclic rate of fire, allowing effective area suppression for landing zones, convoys, and perimeter protection. Troops on the ground benefit from a moving shield of fire, and crews can suppress threats immediately during high-risk insertions or extractions. While the weapons are not precision-guided, their volume of fire acts as a deterrent
and buys critical time for mission completion.
These armed Blackhawks enable a variety of mission profiles previously unavailable to the PAF. They can conduct hot, fast troop insertions into contested terrain, provide suppressive coverage during extractions, escort littoral logistics flights, and perform overwatch in urban or complex environments. In effect, the helicopters become dual-purpose assets, combining lift and fire support without requiring a full, dedicated attack helicopter program. The operational impact of this capability is significant. Armed S-70Is act as force multipliers, improving immediate responsiveness for ground forces while enhancing survivability for troops in high-threat areas. Pairing these helicopters with improved sensors, targeting pods, and eventually precision-guided munitions would expand their lethality and reduce collateral risk, bridging the gap between utility and tactical strike.
Deploying armed helicopters carries operational risks, particularly exposure to man-pads or guided-level operations. Effective countermeasures, careful tactics, and crew training are essential to mitigate these threats. The introduction of miniguns also demands new tactics, training, and sustainment practices, including door gunner instruction, integration with joint terminal attack controllers, and logistics management for high rate-of-fire weapons. Budget-wise, weaponizing existing utility helicopters is a cost-efficient way to increase capability quickly, but it does not replace the need for ISR, maritime strike, and layered air defenses. The revised AFP Modernization program, through its Re-Horizon approach, envisions a multi-horizon expansion of naval, air, and ground capabilities. Likely follow-on investments include expanding the S-70I fleet, upgrading sensors, improving C4 ISR integration, deploying counter-UAS systems, and enhancing logistics and sustainment to support higher readiness levels. These steps reflect a broader shift toward multi-role air groups, cross-domain integration with the Philippine Navy and Marines, and doctrine that supports archipelagic defense and distributed operations. International cooperation, such as interoperability exercises with the U.S. under Balakatan, is expected to continue and reinforce these operational and maintenance standards. In the short term, the AFP should prioritize training for armed helicopter employment, integrate JTAC capabilities, acquire ECM and infrared countermeasures, and ensure robust spare parts pipelines. Medium-term priorities include investing in ISR platforms, such as maritime patrol aircraft and UAVs, integrating targeting pods for precision capability, and expanding air defenses at key bases. Long-term, the focus should be on developing an integrated maritime strike capability, improving sustainment infrastructure, and formalizing doctrine for distributed, joint force employment in littoral zones.
The fielding of M134D armed S-70I Blackhawks materially increases the PAF's tactical flexibility and short-term firepower. This is a pragmatic, cost-effective way to deliver close air support and protect troop movements across the archipelago. However, to convert this tactical gain into strategic advantage, the Philippines must pair these platforms with investments in ISR, sustainment, precision fires, and integrated air maritime defenses within the broader Re-Horizon modernization framework. The result is not just a stronger helicopter fleet, it is a more credible, responsive, and survivable air component capable of meeting the nation's evolving security challenges.
If you found this analysis valuable, share your perspective in the comments. Your insights help deepen the conversation and sharpen our understanding of evolving regional dynamics.
Thank you, and we will see you soon in our next geopolitical discussion.